Hello, and welcome to our new episode of Raising Young Adults with Kimm and Torra. I'm Kimm,
I'm Torah.
and thank you for joining us today. So, Torah, I guess today we're going to do some talking about religion and spirituality and spiritual warfare and that sort of thing. And I guess the first question I had is there a difference between religion and spirituality to you?
I definitely do. And being as though, we're moving into February, which is going to be, Black History Month, and Black people are, to me, the most spiritual people on earth. It's ingrained in our system, no matter, we can't escape it. So spirituality, I believe you don't have to go to church every day. I feel like you don't have to even pray every day. I feel like God can live within you and you know the boundaries of right and wrong. Now, spiritual warfare, now that's a little scary to me because I didn't really know that much about it. I didn't know that much about spiritual warfare because I didn't believe in forces that work against you. I didn't believe that. I mean, of course, yes, we grow up believing in heaven and you know hell and
Hell, God, and Satan, that
yeah,
sort of
we
thing.
we 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 grew up believing in all of that, but it never really struck me that there was this evil man like I visualized my savior to be and my divine to be, that there's a higher being out there just working against you. I just didn't visualize that. But now that I'm really getting into this spiritual warfare, I can believe it now. I can believe when you feel something, there is something there.
hmm I think that for me, the difference between religion and spirituality is that religion really is a man made institution
Mhm.
that has rules and regulations and, um, well, I don't want to say rituals, but things that people do repeatedly, processes, things like that.
That
And
you agree or don't agree with.
I mean, I just think that's what religion is. To
Okay.
me, spirituality is the relationship you have between yourself and the creator or the source or God or however you view
Mhm.
that supreme being. And that doesn't really work by rules. That is you being in that constant communication with your creator.
I
And I
agree.
think that spiritual warfare, I agree with you. That's on a whole nother level. That is, I do believe, dark forces in other dimensions and utilizing entities here on this planet
Mhm.
that are basically waging a war against humanity and a war against Black people in particular, which has resulted in us not advancing and being held down as a
Mhm.
result of the spiritual warfare. So three different things, really complicated and varied.
So when you say spiritual warfare, do you feel like it's a like an entity, or it's an actual human, like with a bad vibe or evil vibe that
I
hold.
believe it's an entire system, a
Mhm.
set of rituals, and an entire system of things that are being done to work against humanity. And so
Okay.
I think that there are entities off this, like in the Satan, demonic, that sort of thing. I don't necessarily call them that, but
Mhm.
that's what that would be, as well as using people who are on this earth now to further their goals
Mhm.
against humanity. So going back to religion, did religion affect the way you raised your children?
I do. I do believe that it affected the way I raised my children because I took the hardcore part of religion out of
Oh,
my parenting. And
okay. What's the
we
hardcore part?
the I feel like walking on eggshells. When from my grandparents trickled it down. They went to church. My grandfather never went to church, but my grandmother went to church. She wasn't the type to go Saturday, Sunday, and all day. No, she wasn't that type, but she did go for a lot of special occasions, which we appreciated. My mother tried to, take us to church on a regular, but she wasn't that consistent. And then I knew that there was a difference between the way we were raised and other people who were in church all day, every day. And it held me to a different standard. I would see preachers' kids, PK kids, do the wildest things, okay? Like the
I know
wildest,
that
crazy
PK
things.
is wild out all the time. I have
You know
heard
that,
that.
right? And then I would see the, kids who are die hard, Christians and Catholics, and they would do this, not saying that all of them. I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying I would see them, a lot of them participate in stuff, and it would confuse me. And I would always be like, but I thought you led by this example. So why are you doing this? Why would you do this? And I knew that when I had kids, I wasn't going to make religion the forefront of our life. I wanted them to know who the higher being was. I wanted them to respect it. And I wanted them to know that if there is an afterlife, you need to know it before you get there, that there's a level of respect. That's all I really wanted for them. So it
Did you
did
take them to church or
I,
no?
I did. And they did participate in a lot of Sunday school. They did a lot of talent shows in church and when they were younger. And then as they got older, it was more so if they didn't ask me, then we didn't go. Do I still want to go? Do I still like to go? Yes, I do like to go for different reasons. I like to go for, the cleansing. I hate to go to church and feel like I feel dirty when I leave. I
Mhm.
like to go and felt like I had a spiritual cleaning. I know that the way the church is run, certain things can be said and done that can make you feel worse. And then I know that there's churches where you've gone and you felt like you've had a bath in
Rejuvenate.
spirituality. So
Yeah, I used to really love praise and worship, just
there you go.
letting go of yourself, getting
There you
out
go.
of yourself, and getting into that music and feeling that
Yep.
connection. I used to really love that. I would say that I grew up a Baptist,
Mhm.
and there was a period of time, particularly around high school, when I would go to church every weekend with my grandmother. My
Okay,
other
so it's
cousins
Southern
and
Baptist
stuff
then. It's
would
different.
would lay around and be asleep in the morning. My grandmother and I would get in a taxi because we didn't have a car back then.
Mhm.
We get in a taxi and go uptown and go to church. It was a Baptist church. I was
Mhm.
raised Baptist. And then interestingly enough, on the other side, my mother and that grandmother were Jehovah's Witnesses. So I had studied that
Oh, wow.
throughout my life,
Wow.
like just having Bible studies with them and
Mhm.
sometimes going to the hall. There was a hall down the street. So there was a period where I would go to the hall. My grandmother, who raised me and who was a Baptist, didn't object to that. So I got all of that exposure. um what I did with my kids when they were young and I was with their dad's Christian, we
Mhm.
took them to church. And then once we separated, I've had periods. So we may have gone to church for like 3 years straight and
Oh.
done Bible studies every week and all this sort
Mhm.
of thing. And then we might not have gone for 2 years, but they certainly have been exposed to that, have been in the Bible, what do you call it? The Bible studies.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sunday school is what I'm actually.
Absolutely.
They
Sunday
would
school.
go to
Mhm.
Sunday school, and then when they got older, they stay in the congregation with me. And I think that now my daughter is more in line with me. She's not so much into religion, but
Mhm.
we are spiritual
Very good.
and want to relate and be in connection with the supreme being. My son is religious, and my son actually
Really?
leads a Bible study at his HBCU. He got involved with it maybe his first year. By
Mhm.
now, he's a student leader and conducts the Bible studies as well. And I've
Really?
talked to him a little bit about it. And this is what I say to them, because like there are things that traditions and principles that I raised them with that I have now learned better and I don't
Mhm.
believe anymore. But this is my thing. If I raised you in it,
Mhm.
then you chose to do it. I'm not going to turn my back on you and say, oh, religion, what? So I will help him brainstorm. How can we get more people in your Bible study? I want to help him because that is what he believed. That is what I introduced him to, and I'm going to support it.
What is his driving force right now that's keeping him to, because as a young man, wow, that is big. I mean, that has to come within
Christian,
you.
I don't know. He has a friend that he's had since high school
Mhm.
that was a year ahead of him who's very religious. And I think that, and I know that he has some friends that were very not religious, right?
Absolutely.
But I think that that guy has morals and integrity and is stuck over the year. They're still really good friends. I
Okay.
think that
Okay.
influenced him some. I
Okay.
think what we have done, in terms of us going to church all those years
Mhm.
influenced him. He just he is on the religious tip. He
Okay.
just I don't know, and I support it full force. And there may come a day when he realizes that religion is this or that, and I'm going to do something different, and I'll be supporting that too. But
Absolutely.
it's his journey. I'm just going to, help him along the way.
That's so sweet and amazing. Yeah, my girls, I don't haven't heard them even mention church or let's do Zoom church or anything. So I religiously, I just know that I don't even hear them speak of it other than, if I
Do
bring
they
it
like
up.
still do the little stuff like bless their food every time they eat, or they're just off of it altogether?
No, no,
Okay.
it's never even really brought up or mentioned at all. I used to read them the Bible just to give them the foundation when they went to bed at night and stuff like that. But I don't know, maybe that is definitely a conversation we're going to have to bring up. And I'm glad you brought that up because I
and
would like to know where
so
they stand with that.
you don't know what their views on religion are right now. You want to talk to them and kind of see where their heads are.
Yeah, that's interesting because that was something that went right over my head over the years that, I know what I hold in my heart and I know what I tell them and say to them. And yeah, I would like to know how they're leading, because they are good girls, you know what I mean? They are good young ladies. So I always feel like if you don't have, I feel like this, if you don't have some type of spirituality, that you just will be led astray by so many things because it's so many negative things that go on in the world. Something has to be your driving force other than just your mom, your guardians and your parents, your dad, you know?
Mhm.
Something has to drive you to want to stay in the good. I feel
I
like
think it'd be
that's what,
interesting to see,
yeah.
since you've taken them to church over the
Hmm.
years, it
Hmm.
would be interesting to see, what their views are now and how much of that they're incorporating. Because sometimes our children might be incorporating a lot of stuff that we don't know. They might be,
Oh yeah.
I talk to God every day when I wake up you never know
You
what
never
they
know.
might say. So it
You
would
never
certainly be
know.
interesting to see what they say. Um, with respect to spirituality and the spiritual warfare piece, do you feel that there is some spiritual warfare being waged right now? And if so, what do you think it might be?
In society or
Mhm.
amongst children.
Either, both.
Well, in society, I do think once I actually got into studying what is, spiritual warfare, I realized I believe it is a lack of proper preaching,
Mhm.
proper guidance in the spiritual realm. I do feel like that the stuff that I'm hearing and seeing that people are doing like in abundance, and I don't. I pray that it wasn't always like this and we just didn't know, but the internet brings everything to the forefront. But
Mhm.
if it wasn't, if it was always there and people were always doing this stuff, I cannot imagine saying to myself, well, where was God? And then I don't want to put it all on God. So then I'll say, well, is evil stronger? Is evil growing stronger? So for me, I feel like there's definitely a spiritual warfare going on as far as there is something evil being preached, something evil being conjured up,
Mm.
whether it is, I'm not blaming the internet, but whether it's what's being put on or allowed to be put on the internet, I do believe there is something. And do I believe my kids can become victims of it and have, even me become a victim of it? Yeah, I do. I think, wanting to do certain things looks bad compared to what our grandparents did, like airing what goes on in my house or venting to the internet about what goes, my parents might have grandparents might have thought that was just plain demonic. Like, what goes on in our house stays in our house. But for me, I feel like God gave me this platform for me to speak, and so I want to look at it in that form. But if I talk to my grandparents, well, they might not feel that way. So that's why I feel like certain things, yeah.
I feel that spiritual warfare is being conducted against, I would say against humanity, but in society.
Mhm,
And I think that it has been conducted for a very long time. But
mhm,
I agree with what you are seeing in that it is escalating. So I think it was put in place and gradually escalating because we can, like you made the example of the music before,
mhm,
saying that our grandparents listened to a certain kind of thing, and then maybe with us they started being, started cursing or talking
mhm,
about drugs. These kids right now are talking about explicit sex,
Woo!
murdering. I mean, just they are just off the page.
Mhm,
And so it has escalated over the years. The TV programming has escalated. They would not show homosexuality. They would, if you looked at those old shows like I Love Lucy,
mhm.
they slept in twin beds
It is.
separate from each other. Now it is nothing to see somebody on top of somebody actually
Mhm,
grinding. I mean, it
mhm.
has escalated, I think,
Yeah, I've
over the
stopped watching, and I feel bad for saying this out loud, but it's the truth. I've stopped watching several shows on Netflix, and well, I shouldn't put a name out there, but I've stopped watching several shows because it has been too much for me. Some of the sexual scenes that they do, it's too much for me. And I mean, heterosexual and gay scenes, it's been too much for me. I'm like, you ruined this good show with just putting so much in my face. Like, it
and it's
really could have went without.
unnecessary. It's not necessary to advance the plot.
It isn't.
So it's gratuitous sex.
Mhm, mhm.
And
And I stopped going to
truthfully,
Turner Classic Movies because that was the time when everything was just enough, you
they
know?
were innocent. I'll be
Mhm.
honest, I don't really watch TV that much. I pay for
Really?
Hulu, Netflix, cable, all that because the kids watch it and they watch it
Mhm.
on my account. But I don't really watch TV. I haven't watched TV a lot for a long time.
Are you a book reader?
Right now I'm just working, doing, and
Mhm.
I watch a lot of videos on, I learn things on YouTube through
Oh,
watching
yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
videos.
Great.
But thinking back and talking about it with my mother about this recently, there was a time growing up when I would not watch TV. Around the time I went to college, I used to call it the idiot box. And
Oh,
I would not watch it. And
okay.
I did not have one. And I did not get a TV until the Cosby Show came out. And
Okay.
I got a black and white TV. I was in college then. And I think, it's gradual. We start watching one show. Next thing you know, you watch, I think A
Mhm,
Different World came
mhm.
out. And then you get into the habit of watching TV. But in the last, I would say 2 years, I've gotten right back out of the habit. I don't watch it much.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I've been a news junkie for this whole 4 5 years thing. I've been really, really a news junkie, and I probably need to detox myself from it for a while. So that'll be interesting to feel like, to not know what's going on every moment of the day. That's where I'm headed,
It
in the
can be a
future,
little weird if you're used to seeing it all the time,
all
but
the time.
I've
All
never been that much into the news anyway. And
Mhm.
now I'm glad I wasn't, but it wasn't because of any lofty goal. I just never
My
have very
parents
much
were.
liked the news.
My parents were, and I hated it when I was younger. I used to always say, "Oh, all they ever watch is the news." And then I grew up to do the same exact thing. And then I hear my kids say, "All you ever watch is the news," and I'm like, I've
In
become a
10
parent.
years, they're going to be watching it too. They say
I know,
grow
right?
up to be our parents.
I agree. I totally agree. So, on that note, with having so much in our face, I often wonder about mental health
Mhm.
because I have seen a therapist. I've taken my kids to see therapists. I have taken even my mother, and in my marriage also. So therapy is not a thing that I shy away from. And I remember taking my mother to the therapist, and I remember her saying, "I don't believe in this. All you got to do is pray it away. That's the problem now. Y'all don't have God in your life, and that's what's wrong." And I was like, that has nothing to do with it. God created man for him to do things like this. Can you just do it with me? I need you to do this with me. And I just remember that was such a bummer for me to feel like, I really realized that that era before prayed every, and I'm not saying that's wrong.
Right.
I have my grandmother-in-law, she prays it all away and it works. She doesn't go to the doctor. She doesn't have too many issues with anything because she believes that, her spiritual realm is her doctor, her everything. But for me, I'm a different generation. So I believe in, getting help for which, what's sick. So I want to know your take on mental health and how is it that you would address it in your life.
Well, let me start by saying that my first degree, my undergraduate degree,
Mhm.
is in psychology. So I'm all
Wow. I love
about mental
psychology.
health. Huh?
I love psychology. My
Yeah.
daughters both major in psychology.
Oh, really?
Yes, both of them.
Okay. So yeah, I'm all about mental health. I'm all about cognitive therapy. I know that just talking to somebody can help you. I know that thinking through how you're going to behave in a given situation can help you. So I believe in therapy. Before I got divorced, my
Mhm,
ex-husband and I did therapy. We
mhm,
involved the children because we used to argue so much. So I wanted to
mhm.
make sure they were okay. After the divorce, I want to say, I don't know if it was therapy, but the little private school they went to was a Christian school, and they had a divorce care class once a week. And so the children had
Especially for your children or all children?
it was just a divorce care class you could join as a member of that Christian community.
Oh,
So other
wow.
parents and stuff came, and my
Mhm.
kids and I went weekly, and they had stuff that the adults did and parts for the children, and then parts together. So
That
to
sounds
me,
amazing.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't technically therapy, but it really was because I had always heard that when you get divorced, your children, no matter what, think that the divorce is because of them.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
I
yeah.
wanted to make sure that they got disabused of that notion. I've sent my son off to not send him, I would take him every week to therapy with a black male because I'm a female. And even though his dad is involved, it just is good to sometimes talk to
Mhm,
somebody who's not your parent. So I'm a full believer in therapy. I've had therapy myself, just
mhm,
for me
mhm,
personally. And I feel that it helped me. It helped me just to get through some tough issues and thought processes. I fully
mhm.
believe in it, but I am aware that it is frowned upon in the Black community. It is
So
frowned
bad.
upon. People are
So bad.
so resistant. You get that, pray it
Mhm,
out. I don't
mhm.
need to go talk to anybody. It is, everybody in our community does not embrace it.
Not at all. And I used to have people actually say to me, "Stop telling everybody that." I'm like, "Stop telling, stop
That you
telling
went to
everyone what?"
therapy?
Yeah, and I literally was like, "Stop telling everyone what?" I had no clue. Like, why you keep telling everybody you in therapy? It's not a bad thing for me. I'm
Right.
not ashamed of anything. So why wouldn't I say it? That's our problem. Like, we don't open our homes up, and we don't open our, journeys up for other people to embrace, because for years it's been frowned upon. I mean, you and I both know that a father not in your child's life is traumatizing, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
especially for daughters. But you'll never speak on that. The people never, not you, but people will never speak on that, because they don't know in the Black community, because we water everything down, we just move on, divorce, separation, parents not getting along, crime, being a victim of a crime. They don't realize that all of that is causing some type of stress, some type of mental abuse, and we don't talk about it. We don't get through it. We either, like you say, we pray it away, we forget
Push
about
it
it, or we're being
away, we
told
sweep it under the
we're weak.
rug.
Yeah,
And then
we're
later
not
on,
weak.
they'll be saying, well, she's promiscuous because this or that happened. But why wait till later on to
Yep,
see the results when
yep.
you can
I
take her
totally
somewhere
agree.
to help deal
Yes,
with it on the forefront? So
yes.
maybe she or he won't be acting out in
And
that
it's
manner.
so many acting outs. It's so many different ways that I feel like if someone had taken a younger child and in any situation that that it's not right, and gotten them therapy for, we would be better off as a race. And that's part of our Black history, that um religion is definitely something we all love and embrace. Well, most of us love and embrace, but we have to be realists and know that there are people out here that can help us, or trained.
God created the therapist too.
That's what I
I
say.
mean,
Same way he created the dentist and the brain surgeon, he created the therapist, the psychologist, and I
so
think that.
when you asked your mom to go with you, did she go? Did it help your relationship at all?
And I love talking about this with everyone who will listen. It definitely helped me understand her, because we had no relationship. We didn't have a good relationship at all. And everyone who knows me knows that.
Okay.
And when I went with her and she opened up and said the traumas that she suffered in her life
Mhm.
as a kid, seeing things that no kid should have seen or been through or gone through, and she had to hold all of that in all those years, it made me have respect for her, which I didn't at first.
Okay.
So even
Well, that's
thinking that she
great.
was weak at one point, I realized that she was stronger than actually I gave her credit for, because she held it in. I mean, she acted out. Don't get me wrong. She acted out on all those traumas, but holding all of that in, and I'm looking at her, and I had to tell my siblings and what was wrong. And I was so upset that my sister, who passed away, she wasn't able to hear that, and we weren't able to get those inputs, because
Oh,
we
you mean
always
she
had
passed
discussions about
away
my mom.
before you found this information out about your mom?
Yes, it was, and that was the
Oh,
reason why I went to therapy with my mother and wanted her to come, was because I lost my sister and I felt like she was trying to get close to me, and I'm her only daughter, and I was just like, no, just because you lost your favorite child, you don't get to be close to me. You don't get to be my friend.
wow.
And I knew,
So deep.
being the person I am, that can't be right. I'm a thinker, so I'm
Right.
like, that can't be right. Maybe if I get her in here and we can talk about some things, we can have a relationship, because I was definitely rebelling against the relationship, not against my mom, but against the relationship.
So that was a successful result then
I
from,
believe so.
even though she didn't want to do it, taking her
Yeah.
in there. Do you think it helped her too, just to get that out?
I do. I do believe it helped her a lot, because she was during that time, she was a better person. Now, the therapist that we were going to is no longer, working. They retired, but I do believe that in the near future we're going to do it again.
Oh, wow.
I'm definitely going to look for a therapist to do this again with her, because I realized that now she's at a late, older age, and I'm getting older, that I often think, like, if I have to take care of her, I'm going to need therapy. Like, if I'm the one that has to take care of my mother, prayerfully, I will not. She will be strong and healthy. She can do it on her own. But,
Mhm.
you know,
That's
if
something.
if my brothers don't take her to, you just think about that. And it's because I have a TikTok and people are always saying to stick me in the nursing home, telling my children they should stick me in the nursing home. And I'm always like, oh my gosh, do I feel
Wow.
that way about my mom?
Okay. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
TikTok responses.
Oh, they are hilarious. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was women and men and the demasculation.
Okay.
Is that a topic that's gonna like really drive us over the edge?
We're
Because
gonna talk about whatever is on the agenda. You want to talk about
always nervous. I'm
demasculation? Let's
always
talk
nervous.
about it.
I'm always nervous about this, because we know, as women, Black women, we haven't been bosses for a long time. We had some role models that made us feel very important. We heard about Harriet Tubman for years, and then we can wind forward to all the beautiful women who started colleges, and we can fast forward to the first person to run for president. So many things we know about
Forgot
ourselves.
about that. That was Shirley Chisholm, right?
Yes,
Forgot
it
about
was.
that. Yep.
And
Mhm.
we have so many important people, and the hidden figures, and Henrietta Lacks. All of these people are showing us we had these great role models, but then you don't know where they went. These great role models, where did they go? Where did these strong women go? Madam C.J. Walker, where did they go? Why aren't they here? Where were they? And then we had Oprah. Yes, we love you, Oprah. But at the end of the day, where were all of those great women? To let us know we could be bosses and we don't have to just be the handmaid tale. Where are they? So I was wondering, did we take a back seat and say to ourselves, well, because our Black men are feeling, demasculine about things, like they're losing their masculinity, and did we take a back seat and now we're coming back up again? But are we coming back up in the right way? Because the
You
Cardi
mean
B,
with
the
Kamala,
Megan Thee
we're coming
Stallion,
back up, or how do you mean we're coming back up?
are we coming back up
Oh,
being bosses and being the breadwinner, being the millionaire, being the moms? Are we coming back up and the Black men are getting their say in a way? Because I talk to my daughters about this. Like, they look at it as bosses. They look at Cardi B as a boss, Megan Thee Stallion as a boss. Um, the girls from Miami, the city girls, they look at all of these girls who are in the entertainment business as bosses and strong, because of the way they present their bodies, and the way they're making their money, and the way they're the boss of their corporation. But And I know that there are plenty of great other women out there we can role model and look up to. You know, the Michelle Obamas is, you know, we can look up to all the, great sisters out there. But how do you feel like it's taken away from the man's manlyhood that we are trying to, you know, put ourselves back in that spot where we used to be? And people might say, well, they don't remember that. That was so long ago, but we were the bosses one time. We carried it. We carried the Black family for a long time and we were prideful doing it. And does that take away from the man? Does that make him feel like,
Well, you know, hmm, I have a lot of views that are different from, I think, what the average person, Black or white in America, would think. And so I'm just going to lay it out there. My answer to that is that there is an attack on masculinity, and
okay?
that is a part of the spiritual warfare,
Mhm,
and that is particularly targeted toward Black men. So
mhm,
we have been seeing that
mhm,
there are more homosexual males than ever. I mean, they're at the grocery store, they're everywhere. I personally don't have a problem with homosexuality,
mhm,
but I
mhm.
am aware that you cannot further your race if you're not having man and woman come together to produce child.
Okay,
And so I think that
okay.
this is just complicated, but I think that there are chemicals in the food. I think that there are things in the genetically modified, the GMO food.
Mhm,
I think that there's an agenda on television. I
mhm.
think that there's an agenda in the music.
Wow.
I think that, I mean, Will Smith's son was wearing dresses and
Mhm,
skirts. You
mhm.
got that, I don't know that guy's name. He's an actor with the tuxedo
Oh yeah,
skirt.
that I remember seeing him on the red carpet. I know exactly who
And
you're talking
he's done
about.
it again with another one. I talked to my children about this as well before they left for, while they were still in the home. Like almost so many shows would have at least one homosexual male.
Mhm,
But in our real lives, we don't know that many where
mhm,
every situation that's right in your face, but it's on
mhm.
there in TV. And then over the years, we start seeing in our real lives more and more and more homosexuality.
Okay.
And so I do think there's an attack on masculinity, particularly with Black males,
Mhm,
because strong Black males fight back.
mhm, mhm,
And if you're walking around doing all that, you're not tending to be fighting for your race. And then, as we see in politics and everything else, those folks are more so fighting for gender equality or fluidity
mhm, mhm.
or whatever.
Fluid.
They're
Mhm,
not focused on their Blackness, they're focused on their gender issues. So
mhm.
that's a way to derail any kind of movement or revolution.
Do you
So,
think that that's why that this era is saying that they don't even want to be known as a gender? Like I've seen this on so many topics where women don't want to be known as women, men don't want to be known as men, and it's making, I don't know if it's doing it for anyone else. I'm only speaking on my personal experience. It is making me think about what I have to say when I say something about, yay women, or yay girl, it's like, ooh, ooh, can I say that? Or even like, oh, I'm so proud of these men. I'm like, oh, am I excluding somebody out? Am I making someone else? I really am eggshelled about that.
I think that's part of what the goal is to make us all think of gender more fluidly and not just male, female. But some of the people that I am around, there are various movements for straight males because they get lost
Yeah,
in the mix.
yeah.
And so I know people who are into straight Black males.
Mhm,
This is for straight Black people. If you're not straight, all that sort of thing. And I don't find a problem with it because there are so many things
mhm.
for the LGBT crowd. They've got gay pride, they've got all kinds of things. So why can't we have some straight stuff too?
That is so amazing. And I'm so glad you said it like that because I actually have had that conversation also. I've said, I feel like it's almost not okay to say you're straight. I feel like it's become a bad word that if you say no, I'm straight, or no, he's straight, or no, because you don't want to say, listen, just because I'm straight, that doesn't mean I don't love you or I don't want you around. It's just saying that this is what I prefer. So don't try to hook me up with your girlfriend, or
Right.
don't try to hook my son up with your boy, this boy
Your
or man,
nephew.
yeah, your nephew, right? It's
Right.
because, and it's okay. I feel like, why is it not okay to say that? So I try to think in my mind, I try to visualize, but if you are just looking at someone as a human, then why wouldn't you just be okay with that? But then it goes back to me just being a straight woman and trying to be open. I get conflicted. I get so conflicted. Like, if you are a straight woman and you're okay with it, and someone says, hey, my, so and so thinks that you're this, or why are you like, wait a minute, don't impose your lifestyle on me? It's like,
Mhm.
I try so hard to say, I get it, but how would you feel? And because if a gay person is gay and I try to introduce a man to a woman, would he be upset? Like, come on, I'm gay.
Right.
Don't try to introduce. Like, I try to go both ways with it. So that is something, I'm so glad you brought it up that way. Like the movement of, can we be, proud to be straight? And where's the lane where we can show this?
And so I never feel conflicted about that because I'm really about live and let live.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you are not straight, I'm not going to criticize you about it. I
Mm-mm.
don't have a problem. Do what you want to do as long as you're not imposing it on me. And by the same token, I am going to carve out the space to be who I want to be. I'm going to say, hey, I'm straight. I believe in that. But I'm good that you do. It's not a problem. And I
Mhm.
don't walk on eggshells. And when people are sending me
Good.
emails with she, her, him, her, I'm like, okay, people, I'm not putting that in
Right.
my signature block because
Right.
my
Right.
name is Kim. You know who I am. I don't have to explain,
Don't have to explain this. We don't. And so that would bring me to my, I guess, final um, piece that I wanted to talk about: abortion.
Okay.
And the reason why I wanted to bring up abortion was because that is almost like a woman's right.
Can I just stop for 1 minute though? I'm sorry, we might have to. I wanted to circle back a little bit to what you said about Nikki
Mhm,
and Cardi and all of those being bosses and all of
mhm,
that. And I do understand that in the younger generation, they
mhm.
see those women as women with money and
Yeah.
success and a
Power.
platform and
Mhm.
power. In my mind, I see them a bit as puppets
That's
because
what I
I
have a
think
sister-in-law
that,
that sees it like that.
hmm,
I have a sister-in-law that feels the exact same way. You're so I never knew this, and then I hear you say it, so I definitely am like, wow.
they're pushing an agenda. They're over sexualizing the children. There are kids like if my kids were younger, they wouldn't know what a WAP is unless somebody in school told you we're not listen. I don't listen to it, and I'm
Mhm,
not going to expose you to it. And if I were the type to want to hear it, I would
mhm,
only be hearing it when they weren't around, and so they would never have known anything about it. But when you have women like Cardi B and Nicki and Megan
mhm,
spreading their legs wide open, drop down. That's over sexualizing our little girls who want to be like them. And I
mhm,
feel like on a
mhm,
level, they're puppets. They're doing what they're instructed to do in order to be paid. And that's not a new thing. People have been selling out for centuries, but
mhm,
it's impacting our community in a negative way. And I do agree with the young girls that, yeah, they're making money and
mhm,
they're in charge of, well, they're probably not in charge of as much as one would think.
mhm, mhm.
Behind the scenes, there's probably a lot of control being exerted over them. But what I would say is that money is not everything.
Okay.
Money's not everything. All money is not good money.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to turn away and say, nope. Imagine if we didn't have, see, sometimes I listen to white music on the radio. I
Mhm,
mean,
mhm,
those songs don't talk about the kinds of things that the black songs are talking about. They're still talking about I loved you and you went away. And,
mhm, mhm.
they have the freedom to just be human beings talking about human subjects. We're all talking about sexuality, murking people. I mean, the
Right, right,
drugs. I
right.
took a half, she took a whole. It's like, what on earth are you guys doing? And I don't think that a
Absolutely.
real boss would sell their race down the river.
And see, that's funny because when my sister and I were having this, my sister-in-law and I were having this discussion, it was so she was upset that, Cardi was talking to the president of the United States, but then had made that video WAP, which my daughters told me was wings and pizza at the time. And then, yeah, then God, I found out later on it wasn't. And
Right. She
she was like,
spins it. Well, I guess yeah. Okay.
yeah, so I asked my daughters, how did they feel about that? Because they were in on the conversation too. And their look on it was, Mom, she could do whatever she wants, and she's a boss, and she's able to talk to the president of the United States and still get respect and still entertain us. And I felt like that was an empowerment. I felt good about that's the way they
One
saw
way to
it.
think about it. Yeah.
I mean, I really did. I felt good that they felt empowered by that, because hearing what my sister-in-law had to say about it, which was she felt like Cardi had taken a few steps back. Like you're talking to the president of the United States, but now you're making videos like this. You were supposed to stop doing that and advance forward. But I feel like if that's your moneymaker, and that's not only your moneymaker, but that's what you like to do, is natural to you. Like there is something inside of you that says, this is me and I like this, then I can't knock it. That's me. Because I remember Vanity and I was obsessed with her. And
Oh,
then later
Vanity
on, do you
Fair.
remember Vanity? And
Oh,
later
not
on,
Vanity Fair, but
Vanity Six.
Vanity.
Yeah,
Part
Vanity Six, the singer.
The Prince thing, the whole
Yes,
Prince group, right?
yes, Vanity Six, the singer. Beautiful sister, love her to pieces. Late Vanity Six. She started off like that. She was our Cardi B, and then towards the end of her life, she became
Oh,
so religious, and she actually said, she didn't really regret how she started out, but she regret that she made those, choices, because once she found her relationship with God, she felt like he didn't appreciate that. He didn't appreciate the lifestyle she lived. And so towards the end, she was just doing her and living her life and her best life until the end. And, unfortunately, she, lost her battle
was she
with
battling
kidney
cancer?
failure. Yeah,
Oh,
kidney failure. Yeah,
you
she
know,
had.
with respect to your daughter's position on that, it really isn't the worst thing to think of it that way. But I think that I have some concerns about the way those types of entertainers are pushed to the forefront, put all across the airwaves, put on TV, because really they're adult entertainment.
Mhm.
So Cardi, Nicki, all of those people should really only, we should only be exposing young adults, late teens, maybe, a certain age
Mhm.
where they can start being exposed to that. And
Mhm.
then we can say these are all grown people or almost grown, and they can do as they wish, but they're promoting this stuff to our 6-year-olds and our 7-year-olds who want to look like them. And with respect to Cardi speaking to the president,
Mhm.
I felt that it was inappropriate. I felt, why would you go to a Latino
Mhm.
who is into ratchet music and
Mhm.
into making that and try to have a conversation about a Black agenda on a political front? All these educated people we have, all these talking heads with their master in public arts, their law degrees, their this and that, you're going to pick an uneducated former stripper
Mhm.
and then try to bring her to the White House. Who is she representing?
And I
Who is
believe
she supposed to be
a
representing?
lot of our people said that behind our closed doors, but not a lot said it out in the open like we're doing, because I felt like it was good to have her there because she can bring the masses. She has an audience. But I also felt like there should have been a person there of color, like you said, educated, know the Black agenda, know politics, know what we need in our communities beside her. So you have two of the same. You have someone who's bringing the audience, who's getting people to listen, to sit down, bringing people to the table, and keeping you interested. And then you have this person who's also putting knowledge into your ear. I think the way they do it is wrong. the, I don't think the people are wrong. I just think the way they do it is wrong. And that's because that no name lady who's out here right now, who's not saying Stacey Abrams is a no name lady. God bless her and I love her to death. But Stacey Abrams doesn't have a Cardi B audience, doesn't have a Megan Thee Stallion audience, doesn't have a Beyonce audience. So I do believe you should have Beyonce, who's definitely, fighting and riding for the Black community there. But I definitely think you should have Stacey at the head of the table saying, okay, thanks Beyonce for bringing the crowd, but I need to take over now. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, and I think that anybody in that position is given an opportunity like that, they'd be crazy not to take it. I don't care if you are whatever you're
Right.
doing. If they
Right.
invite you and you have a chance to participate, you should. But I've been trying to sit here and think about people who have a large following, like Riza Islam. But there are smart Black people who have a large following, maybe not as large as Cardi. I just I will have to think about it. And if I, I may even look into it. And if I remember, bring up somebody next time. I get what you're saying. They're not going to have the following of Cardi, but I think we have,
Well, not even the car, but the people that need to hear this. You know what I mean?
oh, you
Like
mean the younger generation?
the people that follow Michelle Obama and the people that follow Cardi and Beyonce are the two totally different communities. So to merge both of them together, how do we do that? Well, you got to bring both of them together. You got to have Beyonce. You got to tell the community, hey, Beyonce speaking tonight on CNN. Then you got to have Michelle Obama there to talk about our agenda and Stacey there to talk about our agenda, because you're going to show up for Cardi. You can't wait to hear what she's going to say out of her mouth.
Mhm.
But you also know that she's only there to get you to come, turn on the ratings, listen, and then you spring the intelligence on them. They haven't done that yet. I don't know why. I always wonder why. And when I was trying to, talk to my sister-in-law about that, I was saying, to put all that on one head, Cardi is wrong, because she's got in the game for this, but she also wants people to know, hey, I think too. There's a brain in here,
Okay,
that
that's a
thinks
good
too. Even though I started off the game, this way, I do have an opinion, and I do want things for my family and my daughter and my life and my, community. Even though I might not be the best spokesperson for it, but I'm bringing somebody to the table. I'm getting all these people to listen, and it's
That's
true.
a good
You
point.
know what I mean?
I
It's true.
actually think
So
that's a good point. I didn't really look at it that way. And realistically, a lot of the people who are following her maybe are in similar positions, not financially, but
mhm,
education wise,
mhm,
parenting wise,
mhm.
things like that. And so she would be offering a perspective that a lot of people can identify with.
Right.
I think that's a
Absolutely.
valid
And
point.
they speak a language, and I'm not talking about a foreign language. I'm talking about a street code, a language that crowd can understand. That, I mean, yeah, you're gonna have pushback everywhere you go, but the younger crowd speaks a different language than we speak. Even we're not that removed out of the game, but Lord, they speak a
Oh,
totally
that's
different language.
true. That's
you
true.
know and
Mhm.
that's why I said, I think we who know better, we have to be able to tell them how to do better, which is, yes, I want you to speak. I want all of y'all to speak. I want everybody in the entertainment and in the whole business of sports and entertainment. I want y'all to speak up. But however, when they ask you to come on the show, I need you to say, but I gotta have so and so with me. I gotta bring this person with me because they can articulate. Like, poor Ice Cube tried, and boy, he's being, you know,
I
hit with
support
a
what he did.
sledgehammer right now.
Okay with what he did. I mean, I
I
think
am too.
that
I
he
am
was doing
too.
the right thing. We
He
need
was
to get
trying. He was
intangibles.
trying to bring the conversation to the table, but because he's not, a Quasi Mfume, he's not, a Martin Luther King Jr., because he's not a public person like that, we are like, really? Go stick to rap. Not that we're saying that, but that's what the masses are going to think, you
I
know.
think that Black people are just so conditioned to vote Democrat, support Democrat. And I
Mhm,
think that Trump, like as you had mentioned before, you were suffering from PTSD because of everything that happened during his
mhm.
administration. I think he was so extreme that people didn't really want to hear logical, intelligent conversation about what the Democrats needed to do to earn our vote, because they're like, I don't care. We just need him out of here.
Right.
I don't care what they're offering. We just need him out of here. So then for Ice Cube to be coming along saying, you got to make them earn your vote,
Mhm.
they didn't want to hear it.
They didn't want to hear it. They just wanted some peace and quiet, because we felt like there was a administration putting a target on a certain race back, and they were only getting a pat on their behind, for doing anything to us, whether it was, missing a day at work, or, having to say sorry. They weren't really being prosecuted for, targeting us. So I felt like that to me is why we went to a deaf ear. I think that's the only reason.
Yeah, I think they just couldn't
Yeah.
hear him. And going back one last time to the
Mhm.
Cardi thing, You know, that also relates to something you said earlier in, I think, our even first episode, that not only do we want to hear from the parents, we also want to hear from the young adults.
Yeah.
And with Cardi, not only was she representing what it is they might want to say, or that she was giving us insight
Hmm.
into how that whole generation and group that follows her thinks
Oh
about
yeah. Oh yeah.
political issues. So we just, if nothing more, we could be informed
Yeah.
by where our youth are and what we might need to do to get them to where they need to be.
Absolutely. And just it's another thing that Amanda Gorman, the poet,
Mhm.
I would love to hear her parents speak. We've heard her. I want to hear her speak more. Oh, I love her, and I love the fact that she's getting all these opportunities. But I would love to hear her guardians, her parents speak, because that is to me where the story is being told. How does that get created? How does that speak like that? How does that find its inner soul to show us what's inside of it? And I know everyone is, going crazy about her, and I am so proud of her myself. But I really want to, be able to reach out, and hopefully we'll be able to get someone like that to talk to us and say, listen, we have daughters too, and we think our daughters are great, and we think our children are great, but how do you get to raise an Amanda Gorman? How do you have that person when they do open their mouth, they speak to the masses for the masses? She's made all of us proud, and I think that's a through and through thing. I don't think that is next week we're gonna catch her doing something inappropriate and be like, ah, ha, ha, ha. Come on, girl. And even if we do, I could
We
care less.
might, I mean, I think that that's something that we do as a culture, is not realize that there's a whole person. Like, a person
Yeah.
doesn't have to be all good or all bad.
All bad,
And
right.
when you're younger, you're gonna do some stuff where you're like, oh God, that didn't go well at all.
Mhm.
So if we did see her doing something crazy next week, I'd be willing to hear what the circumstances are.
Right, right,
We didn't
right.
grow up in front of everybody watching every move we made.
You
So
remember when was it Malia Obama or when she was smoking weed and they filmed it and it was like that was supposed to be the worst thing a kid could ever do, and I'm just like, girl.
she's not a president. She's not a politician.
Right, right. I'm like, girl.
She's
It's,
not an actress. She's just a kid trying to figure out
yep.
how to get to the next
And
stage.
I don't remember if it was Malia or Sasha,
It
but
was
I think
Malia.
it was
It was
Malia.
Malia.
Yeah, the oldest.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was thinking to myself, I was like, if y'all think this is the worst thing, like what makes you think just because she's the president's kid that she needs to.
Weren't those Bush daughters drinking up a storm and turning up?
Oh, they had a good time too, but it's
Yeah.
us. It's us under the microscope. You know that. So,
Most of us were
and
like,
I'm talking
what?
about for us. I'm not talking about any other race putting this on us. I'm talking about as the
I know
Black
our own
race,
viewpoints.
we
Yeah.
put it on us. Yes, because I remember my daughters are gymnasts, and I know that there was a gymnast, and I won't dare defame her name, but she wore her hairstyle that Black women just, and it was no other race I heard talking about her hair other than us as Black people, and I was upset. And when I went to gymnastics, like even other Black mothers was like, oh my God, why didn't you do her hair, why didn't and I was upset, and I was like, this girl just won a championship. She is known as one of the greatest gymnasts in the world, and we are focused on her hair.
And I hate
Why
to
are we
always,
like this?
I have to keep bringing it back. That's a part of brainwashing and programming. Our hair is perfectly fine. In
In
fact,
any
our
way we
hair
wear it.
is superior because everybody else's hair complies with gravity.
Mhm.
My hair stands, I wear bush afros, my hair stands straight
Mhm.
up. Our hair defies gravity. Our hair is phenomenal. But
Mhm.
we have been brainwashed to think that our hair, the way it comes out of our head, is not good. And we
It's
have
not good
to
enough.
get
It's
over
not
to
good enough.
some European standard.
Mhm.
However, her hair looked was perfectly fine with me because
Perfectly.
that's
The
the way
whole
it
the
grows
whole
out of
thing
her
that
hair,
she just
out of
did
her
just
head.
got washed out all because of her hair, and it just that upset me about us. And
That's
we
mental
can blame
programming.
anybody else, but that upset. And there's so many stories like that. We can
That's
go
like
down.
that is part of the legacy of slavery and the
Mhm.
mental programming that took place. But do you notice, like, I typically tend now, I've been wearing wigs on here, but
Mhm.
in my regular life, I typically tend to wear my hair just out
Mhm.
natural. I tend to
Mhm.
wear froze now,
Oh yeah.
twists, things like that. And I notice that way more Black women are doing that.
Oh
They're
yeah.
locking up, they're wearing braids, they're wearing their natural curl
They're
pattern,
shaving it all off. I mean, in
shaving it
Africa,
all.
you will see that in abundance, the braids, the shaving, the short dudes. I love it. I love it all.
I think we're coming into a season where Black people are Black women.
Say
Men
it.
too. Nope. Men too. Black people are starting to respect and cherish and be proud of and wear their hair because my son used to wear waves, which
Mhm.
is, it's just put some gel on and a do rag. But
Mhm.
now he started letting it grow and letting it be, up there the
Mhm.
way his
Yeah.
hair grows.
Now
And
my son wears his.
yeah, my
Yeah.
daughter's been natural for like, oh my God, like it's gotta be six or so years. She stopped wanting to get a perm. She did
My
it
daughters
way
too.
before I did it.
I was about to say the same. They taught me about natural hair. They literally were about 12 and 10 years old, and they said, no, no more perms, no more. Cut this
Oh
off. They
wow.
went to an afro as 10 and 12-year olds.
Oh
And I might even be wrong. It literally might have been younger than that. They might have been, 10 and 8 when it happened. I have to, matter of fact, I think it was more like 10 and 8 when they said no more chemicals in my hair, and they told me that they cut it off. And when I say they had little afro, they were
so
proud of
they
it with
could
the
come
headband.
back with their fresh hair. But
Yes.
I didn't let my daughter, I didn't perm her hair
Wow.
until she was older. So all those early years, I would just wash her hair, cornrow it, plait it, all that sort of stuff. And then around junior high, she started asking me to
Mhm.
get her hair flat ironed and
Mhm.
to straighten her hair. And so then I did it at her request. And then by the time she was in high school, she was done with it. And recently she looked at me and said, I can't believe there was a time when I wanted you to to perm my hair.
Right,
But I
right.
didn't let her do it at those young ages. I
Yeah,
just combed
I
her
did
hair.
it to them, and they reversed it on me and taught me. And so ever since then, it's been a natural household. Every natural product, natural household. Now, yes, we do wear braids and wigs and stuff like that, but as for the most part, we are definitely gone back to our heritage of like not putting any process in our hair to permanently straighten it. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
when
proud
we
of
wear a wig, our hair is plaited or cornrowed or
it.
something
Yeah,
natural under it. It's not straightened and flat ironed.
not at all.
So
Not at
it's
all.
good when they teach us, though. It's good when they say, hey, look, I'm going this direction. And I think about it and say, I think I'm going to try that too. That sounds like a good idea.
It
So
is, they do. They are really showing us another way of life, which I'm very proud of because we didn't grow up where it was our parents showed us, and now I feel like this generation, our children are showing us. So I like that.
well, I show them too. Yeah, I know you're teaching them too. It goes both ways.
Yeah, it goes both ways. Hmm.
They show us some, and they can keep us current on some things, and we can bring in that wisdom from having
Absolutely.
seen how things work out that they never would be able to guess. So it goes both ways.
I love it. I love it.
Me too. So, are there any other topics you want to mention before we close out today?
No, not at all. We were going to we can wait for another episode to discuss other topics, but I really think we touched on a lot of great things today. I'm very proud of this episode.
I agree. I think we hit a lot of interesting
Mhm.
and not necessarily politically correct topics, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to
Yeah,
speak our truth, and then if people feel another way, we'd be happy to hear it. We welcome all
absolutely.
comments and
All
viewpoints.
comments and views are welcome. Absolutely.
Yes. So thank you all for joining us today. As always, parenting young adults with Kim and Tora, and I'm Kim.
And I'm Tora.
Have a good night.
Good night.